Ever since Smash 64, Kirby has always been a very recognizable character throughout all of the Smash series. But I know for a fact, the main reason why people know Kirby is such an iconic character in Smash is because of all the Kirby cosplays. So in today's video, I'm going to be rating all of the Kirby outfits in Smash Ultimate. And the way I'll be rating the outfits are very simple. I'm just going to rate them 1 through 10 and what I like and dislike about them. So for the first cosplay, we got my boy Mario. Honestly, a very simple design. I don't think it's changed ever since the Smash 64 design. So I like the consistency that Kirby kept here. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Next up for the cosplay, we got my boy DK. Now for this cosplay, I like it very much because honestly, it just makes Kirby dummy OP. Especially with that neutral B. The design could be a little bit better. They could have included a tie maybe. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Next up for the Kirby cosplays, we got my boy Link. I was very excited to see the Kirby cosplay, especially since Breath of the Wild Link is in Smash Ultimate, but sadly to say, he doesn't get the beautiful luscious hair that my boy Link does. Honestly, it would have been so much better with the hair. I mean, the green hat's cool, but I've seen it before. 7 out of 10. Next up, we got Samus. I actually enjoy this cosplay a lot just because it's literally just Samus's helmet on Kirby's whole body. That is very, very unique. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Next up, we got Dark Samus. Honestly, literally the same thing as normal Samus. I'll give this the same rating, 8 out of 10. Looks like we got my boy Yoshi up next. Now, for this cosplay, I know it's very minimal, kind of like Mario's, but Mario's makes sense. He has a hat. They could have at least given Kirby Yoshi's Tims and the hat. 6 out of 10. The next character we got up is Kirby. Now honestly, what other character to cosplay other than yourself? 10 out of 10. Alright, so here we got my boy Fox. I think this one's actually really good. The way that they have his headgear and also the fox ears as well. I like that little combo. I think they could have added like his little scouter that he has on his eye, but you know what? It's pretty good. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Alright, next up we got Pikachu. I don't really mind this one actually. I know it's very minimalistic, kind of like Mario's and Yoshi's, but this one has a tail and it has like physics to it. Like look at it move all by itself, doing its thing. 7 out of 10. Up next, we got the less known brother Luigi. I'll keep this one pretty short. I like it. It's just like Mario's. Simple. Love it. It makes sense because, you know, Luigi has a Luigi hat. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Alright, next up we got the boy around the block, Ness. Now for this cosplay, I love it a lot. I don't like Ness as a character, but I love Kirby rocking this shit. What are you gonna do when you see this man in an alleyway? 10 out of 10. Alright, next up we got my boy Captain Falcon here. I gotta say, this cosplay right here is pretty top tier. I mean, look at the detail. They gave him the cool looking eyes. My man Kirby is dripped the fuck out. Thanks to Captain Falcon. So I'll give it an 8 out of 10. This next cosplay we got here is Jigglypuff. Now with this cosplay, honestly, I think Kirby rocks this look a lot better than Jigglypuff. He looks cute as shit. I mean, regardless, at the end of the day, Kirby does get confused for Jigglypuff, so why not even give him the look? I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Next up, we got the one and only Princess Peach. With this cosplay, I think it makes a lot of sense, but they could have done a little bit more, honestly. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Alright, next up, we got the baddest bitch of all time, Daisy. Now with this cosplay, I love it a lot more just because it's Daisy. Literally looks the same as Peach. I like Daisy a lot more, so I'll just give it a 9 out of 10. Alright, next up we got the boss of bosses, my man Bowser. Now with this cosplay, I think it suits Kirby very well. The evil look, the horns, the long hair, even the fire breath. I think it's very detailed and they did everything they could to get the Bowser impression on him. I'll give it a 8 out of 10. Next up we got the coldest kids on the block, Ice Climbers. With this cosplay, I think it's pretty well done. I mean, he kind of reminds me of Kenny from South Park, just having his hood all the way up. I mean, it makes sense. They live in like the Antarctic or wherever the fuck. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Next up we got Miss Mysterious herself, Sheik. I think Nintendo did a very good job with this one. I mean, look it. They got Sheik's hair, they got Sheik's face covering, they got everything that they needed to make Kirby look as epic as they could. 8 out of 10. Next up we got the Savior of Hyrule, the true Savior of Hyrule, Princess Zelda. Now just like Sheik's, I think this is very well done. I personally like it when Kirby has hair, and I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Next up we got the PhD man himself, Dr. Mario. I'll be honest, I really love Dr. Mario as a character, but I hate this cosplay. It's so minimal. All they did was just give him Dr. Mario's little hat. 4 out of 10. Alright, next up we got the worst version of Pikachu, Pichu. Just like Pikachu's, it's very well designed and you get Pichu's neutral B, but it does hurt you. And also Pichu's tail is barely visible, so it might as well not even be there, honestly. 6 out of 10. Alright, next up up, we got Birdman himself, Falco. Now, will be honest, I don't think I have ever seen Kirby's cosplay with Falcon, and I must say, get this abomination out of here. This is something that went wrong in a lab and escaped. 4 out of 10. Next up, we got Marth. Yay. This cosplay is honestly just very boring to me, just like the character. 3 out of 10. Oh god, another Fire Emblem character, Lucina. You know what? I'll be a little bit more fair here. This one is a lot more unique. I mean, look at Kirby's chilling with that little who am I? Like, how are people not gonna know who Kirby is with that little hat on, that little mask on? 5 out of 10. Next up, we got the hero of time, young Link. Honestly, I don't know what I expected. I was hoping for a cool set of hair, even on the sides. Just give me a cool set of hair on the side. Honestly, I'll just give it a 5 out of 10. The man of darkness, Ganondorf. I think this one is very well done as well. It kind of reminds me of the Bowser one just by the hair and the color and how spiky it is. But my favorite part of this whole cosplay is Kirby with sideburns. Look at that shit. It looks amazing. 9 out of 10. Next up, we got the legendary Pokemon, Mewtwo. Honestly, for how minimal this cosplay is, I like it a lot. It looks really good on Kirby. Just the fact that they just gave him little horns and a tail. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Next up, we got the hothead himself, Roy. I don't know what it's about Fire Emblem characters, but they're just so boring to me. And even the cosplays look boring. I'll just give it a 4 out of 10. Jesus Christ, we're another character, another Fire Emblem character. Google Chrome. This cosplay, I won't lie, looks like a Bayonetta wannabe, just by the hair. I'm pretty sure it's the same hair that Bayonetta uses, honestly. I'll give it a 3 out of 10. Finally, no more Fire Emblem characters. We got your boy, Mr. Game & Watch. I've actually always liked this one ever since I first laid my eyes on it. The way Kirby looks just looks so badass and mysterious. Honestly, I wish this could be an alt. I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Next up, we got Meta Knight. I like the direction that they did with this. Instead of giving Kirby his whole body to change to match Meta Knight's, they just gave him his face and his wings. 7 out of 10. Next up, we got the illiterate man himself, Pit. With this one, I was hoping that they would have given him the hair and the halo, but honestly, the halo just looks fine by itself. Kirby is already an angel as it is. 8 out of 10. Here we have Dark Pit. Now with this cosplay, it looks exactly like Pit's other than the dark wings, so I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Next up, we got Zero Suit Samus. Now with this one, I like what they did. You know, they kept it simple. They just gave Kirby the ponytail, and honestly, it looks good on him. He's rocking that shit. But tell me why he kind of looks like Zuko from the last Avatar. My man is out here trying to restore his honor. 8 out of 10. Next up, we got the stinky man himself, Wario. Now with this one, I was hoping they would have given him his little nose and mustache and the hat, but instead they just gave him the hat. So you know what, I'll just give it an 8 out of 10. You stinky fuck. Next up, we got the killer himself, Snake. This is how everyone should be done. Instead of just giving him like the hat or like just the facial features, do both. 10 out of 10. Ike looks kind of like Google Chrome's, but honestly, it looks exactly the same. I'll give it a 3. Alright, next up on the list here, we got my man Squirtle. Now with this one, I actually like what they did. Instead of giving him like the little Squirtle head, they gave him the shell and the little tail. I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Alright, next up we got Ivysaur. I like what they did with this one too. They gave him the little ears, they gave him the little plant on top of his head, you know, and little leaves in the back of his shit. Also a 9 out of 10 for me. And last but not least, we got the man, the myth, Charizard. Now with this one, honestly, I could see all they could do was just use the snout and the wings. There really wasn't much to work off of Charizard, so you know what, I'll give this one an 8 out of 10. Next up, we got the kid, Diddy Kong, baby. With this cosplay, I was honestly expecting a little bit more than just his Nintendo hat. You don't have to use Diddy Kong as a plug for your shit. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Alright, next up we got the boy with no mother, Lucas. I know I joke on Lucas a lot, but honestly, I like this cosplay. It reminds me of a really stupid looking Jimmy Neutron in Smash. 9 out of 10. Alright, next up we got the blue blur himself, Sonic. With this one, I wasn't really expecting anything more other than, you know, just the Sonic ears and the hair, which makes sense. 7 out of 10. Next up, we got the man himself, King Dedede. With this cosplay, I was expecting a little bit more. Honestly, not just the hat, but maybe the beak as well. I'll give it a 5 out of 10. Alright, next up, we got Ant-Man himself, Olimar. I was expecting a really lame cosplay, but I actually got the opposite. I got a pretty good one. I mean, look at the nose. Look at the little little antenna that he has. He probably gets FM radio with that shit. I'll give it a 8 out of 10. Next up, we got the Furry Lucario. This one's not the best, but it's also not the worst. Honestly, if this was on like a shelf that was 50% off, I would probably buy it. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. All right, next up, we got R.O.B. I really like this one because instead of giving him a hat, they literally put this on his body. Kirby no longer has eyes. He's chilling with that set of VR goggles for the rest of his life. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Next up, we got the one and only Toon Link. And just like all the other Links, looks exactly the same. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Next up, we got the apex predator himself, Wolf. I love all the work that they did for this one actually. The eye patch, the little ears, even the middle set of hair that Wolf has. I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Next up, we got the homeowner, Villager. At first, I didn't like this cosplay, but while looking at it a little bit more now, it grew on me. And I like the way that Kirby looks, because he looks dumb as shit. 8 out of 10. Alright, next up, we got Mega Man. I like how Mega Man's helmet fits on Kirby's whole body, as if Mega Man even has that big of a head. Not bad. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Next up, we got Wii Fit Trainer. Now with this one, I was only expecting the hair to be on there, but the fact that they changed my boy's skin tone, it looks like he just saw a ghost and has never recovered. 7 out of 10. Next up, the goddess herself, Rosalina. I was expecting a little bit more from Rosalina. Maybe, you know, the full set of hair so Kirby can look as magnificent as she does, but you know what, the crown is fine too, I guess, so I'll give it a 7 out of 10. The boxing champion, Little Mac. I actually really like this one. The fact that they make Kirby look a little mean right there, and the full set of hair that he gets looks like an absolute Chad, and also helps that he has a better recovery than Mac will ever have in his whole Smash career. 8 out of 10. Next up, we got the Pokemon from the Water Village, Greninja. I feel like every Pokemon I've seen Kirby cosplay, it's always been a hat. The hats are cool, but this one has very little detail. Literally just has the top of his ears and his little eyebrows. 6 out of 10. Next up, we got Palutena. With that luscious set of green hair, Kirby can literally take on the entire roster. You already thought that man was menacing enough? Look at him with the green hair. He does not give a shit about life. 8 out of 10. Next up, we got Pac-Man. Not gonna lie, I was expecting Kirby's whole body to change yellow, but I like this a lot more. The little eyebrows they gave him and the nose. The nose just looks so good on Kirby. Reminds me of Squidward. 9 out of 10. Yup, you guessed it. Another Fire Emblem character, Robin. Alright, I will be honest here and be a lot more fair to Robin. They are the most unique Fire Emblem character that we have next to Byleth, but honestly, this cosplay is alright. 7 out of 10. Next up on the list, we got Shulk. Now with this one, I was hoping for a little bit more, as always with every other character, but the fact that they just give him the sword, kind of lazy in my opinion. I mean, what do I know, right? At least give him, you know, the little set of hair so Kirby can look somewhat funny. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Alright, next up we got Bowser Jr. This cosplay makes Kirby to look like a street artist that, you know, just goes out and does a lot of cool street art, especially with that bandana. That just gives you street art vibes. 8 out of 10. Next up, we got Duck Hunt. With this cosplay, I was hoping they would give more duck rather than dog. I mean, it looks cool, it looks kind of cute. Reminds me of that Snapchat filter that everyone used in like 2015. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Next up, we got the Chad himself, Ryu. With this cosplay, Kirby looks very Chad-like, as you can see already. He's got the mean looking eyebrows, he's got the full set of hair, and he has the headband, which means he's a fucking badass. 9 out of 10. Next up, we got blonde boy himself, Ken. I prefer this cosplay over Ryu's just because of how luscious that hair looks on Kirby. And look how mad he is. He's ready to kick ass. He's on Ken's level of fuckery. 9 out of 10. Next up, we have Pretty Boy, aka Cloud. I've been excited to get to this one because honestly, this is one of my personal favorites. I mean, look at the full set of hair. If you didn't know any better, you would have thought that my man Kirby went full Super Saiyan in Smash Ultimate. 10 out of 10. The Water Dragon, Corrin. Okay, I know that my voice didn't sound as enthusiastic, but now, after seeing what the actual cosplay is, I fuck with this heavy. Respect on Corrin's name. 7 out of 10. Next up, we got the witch herself, Bayonetta. I think this is one of those instances where Kirby looks a lot better than the actual person that Kirby cosplayed. I also like the fact that Kirby uses guns and just shoots people. That is a pretty cool neutral B to give Kirby. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Next up, we got INkling. With this cosplay, I think they were very limited on what they could do with INkling. There's not very much that you can do with INkling's design, especially when you want to put it on Kirby. It's very basic overall, so I will give it a 6 out of 10. Next up, we got Ridley. Now, out of all the hats that Kirby wears, this is honestly one of my favorite, and it's because he's wearing Ridley's head as a scare tag. Imagine you have to go up against your opponent and they're using your head as a hat. How are you gonna cope with that? I'll give it an 8 out of 10. All right, next up we got Simon. This one looks amazing. The hair, the headband, and even the neutral B is just as annoying as Kirby can ever be. So the fact that they're giving him an annoying neutral B and making him look good at the same time, just amazing. 8 out of 10. All right, next up we got Richter. I was hoping for the same luscious type of hair with Richter, but he doesn't have long hair, so honestly I'm gonna give this a 6 out of 10. Still annoying, especially with that neutral B, but yeah, the hair just put it all together. Next up we got Mr. King K Rool himself. With this one, honestly, I would have preferred a little hat that Kirby was wearing instead of whatever the fuck is going on up there. Honestly, that cosplay looks like a mutation that went wrong, and Kirby was the outcome of that experiment. 6 out of 10. Next up we got Isabelle. Honestly, this one's very simple and honestly not really much detail. Not to mention the power you get with Isabelle is very useless, especially against her, so I'll give it a 4 out of 10. Next up we got Incineroar. With this one, I think they could have definitely done a lot more work. Maybe they could have included the eyes so it's just not, you know, just a dead version of Incineroar on top of Kirby's head, but honestly I don't mind it. I'll give it a 5 out of 10. Alright, next up we got Piranha Plant. I actually like this cosplay a lot. The fact that they use Kirby's whole body instead of giving him a hat, and the fact that he can blow out the patooey and there's an animation of him just blowing the patooey, just amazing. I love all the detail they put into him. 9 out of 10. Up next we got Joker. This right here is a perfect example of a great cosplay. They got the luscious hair, they got one feature on the face which is the mask. What else do you need? 10 out of 10. Next up we got the legendary hero. I'll be honest, from this cosplay I was expecting a little bit more. The fact that they only gave him the shield and the little headband and the sword and not even a set of hair makes me a little bit disappointed. I'll give it a 8 out of 10. Okay, up next we got Banjo and Kazooie. This one's kind of dog shit, I won't lie. They only gave him a backpack and the little necklace that Banjo wears, and then the bird that they use is a little plushy bird of Kazooie, so I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how Kazooie feels about that. 4 out of 10. Here we got Terry Bogard. Now this right here is a top tier cosplay. They got the hat, they got the long luscious hair, and the fact that Kirby yells Power Wave in his cute little voice, 10 out of 10. Alright, here we got Byleth. For the Byleth cosplay, I was hoping that the hair would change with the alt, but I guess they only have one alt, so that's kind of disappointing. 4 out of 10. Up next we got Min Min. This right here is honestly another example of a top tier cosplay. You got the little hat, you got the noodle hair, and also you got the broken neutral B. What else would you need from Kirby? I guess they could have added like that little face mask that she wears to hide her identity, but I still think it's pretty good. 9 out of 10. Next up we got Minecraft Steve. Honestly, I don't feel like I have to explain this one much. I mean, look at it. It's cubed Kirby. 10 out of 10. Next up, we got Sephiroth. Now, normally I would say this cosplay is very lazy, but honestly, it's the opposite. They gave him the most luscious hair they ever gave Kirby in a Smash game. Do you see this? Do you see the part in the middle? My man is dripped out. 9 out of 10. Up next, we got Pyra. Now, with this cosplay, I think Kirby kills it. He's looking a lot better than Pyra, in my opinion. Especially with that broken neutral B, you love to see it. Literally, anything that has Kirby with hair, I'm gonna love it. 8 out of 10. Up next, we got Mythra. This one is not too different from Pyra's, other than the hair color. I mean, they still got that little jewel in the middle of their head, and the hair looks great. I'll give it a 9 out of 10 as well. Next up, we got Brawler, Gunner, and Swordsman. I honestly think these are the worst. They're just a picture of your me on top of Kirby's head. A for effort. 2 out of 10. And that was me rating all of the Smash Ultimate costumes that Kirby has. Let me know down in the comments below which Kirby costume was your favorite. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one. Take it easy and stay healthy.